Good evening or afternoon, or maybe early morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to another Sunday Pub. Hello, John. John's here. Hello, Cara. I had said last time that when we had our extravaganza, our big year in review 2024 with 7 people, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I said then that I was going to do my 2024 Matty Awards today, but I got so caught up this week in working on my gaming channel, which is going really well, that I failed to prepare enough in time to be ready for the Matty Awards. So I'm planning on next Sunday at the moment. Let's see who's here. Ida. It is finally Sunday with a wine glass. Yes, I also have a wine glass. Cheers, Ida. Terry's here. Happy Sunday, Terry. K2, good to see you. Marianne. Guevara, no relation, I wonder, actually, could be, who knows? Therese, good to see you. Jerome, as usual, always here, loyal pubber that he is. Morton, Shad, Osa, Aslan. It wouldn't be a pub without Thornall. The gang's all here, apparently. So how has your week been? How has your reading been? My reading has also been suffering under my gaming channel. I've been working very hard on the gaming channel this week, actually, but it's going pretty well. Oh my God, Trevor is here. Trevor's never here on Sunday night my time. Mariana, apparently no relation. The Bell Tube is in the house. Good to see you, Brian. I was just thinking of you yesterday, and I meant to text you, and then I got distracted because it's been a while since we talked. Maybe you could come on screen. Brian never does that, or rarely anyway. How is Curse of the Mistwraith going? Yeah, Curse of the Mistwraith. First of all, I'm enjoying it. I would say I'm about 15, 20% through. I haven't read much this week. Like I said, I've been very distracted by getting my gaming channel running. And I think it's baked into the algorithm that when you start a new channel, you have a lot of like early success so that you get excited and get into it. And then your success doesn't have any advantage anymore. And then you just have to fight it out. So I've had some early success, or at least what feels like success. It's been running for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. And I already have almost 500 subscribers and ungodly thousands of hours watch time. It's very different. First of all, when you're in gaming space where people are a lot more into watching videos about their hobby. And secondly, when you're making extremely long videos, I have like sort of two streams on my channel. I have the Let's Play, and each Let's Play episode is 2 to 3 hours. And then I have the tutorials, which are like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes each. And because I have these Let's Plays and people tend to just put them on and let them run in the background, and they're like 2 or 3 hours each. If you get a couple of hundred people watching those, you very quickly have got thousands of watch hours together. So no Brian on screen today. Outside stuff on his mind. Cool. Okay, so we've got synchronized curse reading. Very nice. Yeah, I've missed it, to be honest, because I've been so distracted, or not distracted. I've been actually very focused, just focused on something else all week. I've been missing reading, and I'm going to set myself an alarm so that if a long rambling conversation starts, that we actually start a sprint at 1:30. I don't want to be blathering on forever and completely forget about reading. We should sprint. Speaking of reading, here's Britain.
Hey, everyone.
Famous from the BookTube channel, Some Okie Dude.
I know. I'm at 550. Let me check, actually.
Sorry to hear you're not doing that well, Thornall. I totally understand. One of the, I won't say manifestations of my depression, but one of the things that brings me out of it is when I have a new exciting project. And that is very much, whoops, Britain disappeared and reappeared, and Jared also appeared.
Hello.
Hey, Jared. Good to see you, man.
How's it going? Yeah, you too.
But I don't know what happened there. My internet just kind of crapped out. Also, it is 552 subscribers. So there we go.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Congratulations. You can monetize.
Oh, really? I can? Oh.
Well, I don't know how many watch hours you have, but I think it's 500 subscribers and 1,000 watch hours. So if you have that, you could theoretically turn on ads and start making some money.
I'm sure you got that.
Yeah, I mean, you probably got 1,000 watch hours. You've got these long interview videos or your podcast and all of that. That adds up pretty quick. Aslan says, hope I don't get too much toxicity on my gaming channel. Actually, it's funny. Right now, I'm only running one game. And it is a game that is very popular with people who are over 25. Like my entire watch base is 25 to 50. And they are all very civil and friendly and nice people so far. So that's cool.
Hey, Raph.
Raph is here with a bandana.
Yeah,
and a missing tooth. What did you do?
I'm turned pirate.
He's a pirate.
Apparently.
Yeah.
No, I had an accident last week, and I fell and knocked out that tooth.
Oh shit!
Wait, I thought you got that fixed on Friday. Or was that
No. This is going to take a while. I went to the dentist, and I have an appointment with a surgeon to remove the rest of the root, and then I can get a replacement. And the appointment with the surgeon is on the 7th of February. So for a while, I will still keep doing the pirate thing.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey.
All good. All good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, no, the gaming channel has been very positive so far. I'm doing it in a very particular way because the game I'm playing is very complex and it's hard to learn. And I remember being confused for about 6 months while I was getting into it. And I decided to do pretty much exclusively stuff that's targeted towards beginners. So my Let's Play, I take time and I explain a lot of things and all that. And then the other stream is tutorials, which are very specifically like, here's one subject in the game and here's how to do it. And everyone seems to be pretty grateful for that and appreciating it so far, which is cool. D&D has been canceled. I'm sorry, Navo.
That sucks.
Yeah, D&D is always a good time.
Yeah, had mine this morning.
But good that you're here. I know you usually don't get to make it. Derry's going to join us soon, which is cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cold out here in Oklahoma too.
It's 9 degrees here.
Oh my God, where are you at, Alicia?
9 American degrees.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
East Tennessee.
Oh my God.
Here it's only 2 everywhere else in the world degrees. So that's not that cold. It's above freezing.
It was colder like during the week, I feel. Like today was super warm.
A few days ago it was well below freezing here.
Yeah, because I realized because I'm currently recording videos on pirate books because now that I can. And,
you should get 2 eye patches.
Maybe. The thing is, I have to record
and a parrot. And a hook.
Maybe
you do have a monkey. I've seen your monkey before.
Yeah, and I like for the first video that I did, I already put the monkey on my shoulder, so I'm getting there. The thing is, I have to record my pirate videos outside on my balcony because I can't swing my saber under my bed, and that's not something I thought I would ever say at my age, but.
I can't swing my saber under my bed. I can't imagine anyone saying that at any age.
Well, here's the saber, and it is slightly too long to do this under my bed.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can draw it, but certainly not swing it.
Yeah, so I have to record those pirate videos on my balcony, so I know exactly how cold it is.
Jerome says you should get a gold tooth. I agree.
I don't think it will be more expensive than like the normal replacement thing. So
no, but it'd look cooler.
Yeah, I know.
It looked much piratier.
Definitely.
Brian says now that you have plopped your beer, it is officially Sunday.
Yes, it is Sunday, yes.
Yeah.
Officially started.
Yeah. Danielle is requesting that you switch to rum.
It must feel weird when you're drinking. It just goes through the hole, That has to be weird.
Yeah.
You get used to anything.
It's the main thing is that it I realize that I talk differently because you kind of need your teeth to do certain words and all of that and sounds. That's like the one thing that I've noticed, and I realize that's maybe one of the reasons why pirates talk this way, because if you roll your R, you do that slightly higher up on like your gum and not at your teeth.
Yeah.
So maybe the fact they're rolling their R's is in fact because they didn't have teeth.
Yeah, you never really think about how much of a part of the shape of your mouth your teeth are until you lose one.
Yeah. It's very much that.
Yeah. Marianne, or is it Mariana? It's probably Mariana. What's the game? The game is Medieval Dynasty. It's basically not really an exact simulation, but like you are a person starting out from scratch, and you build a medieval village, and you recruit villagers to join your village and work, and it's got a very detailed farming simulation, but you can also run around and hunt animals or hunt bandits, or there's a bit of adventure-y stuff in it, but a lot of it is basically building and management game. And those are games I love. Oh my God, Brian, move to a sensible place.
I was about to say, yeah, he's in Minnesota. Like that place.
Minus 30 wind chill? That's
Arctic
American
level.
degrees, right? Oh,
One of my best
God.
friends lives in
Brian's
Minnesota.
the second
I
person.
could never.
Yeah, it's the second person from Minnesota I've seen complain about the cold today.
Well, Tori lives around the corner from Brian. I'm sure she's also freezing her ass off.
Yeah, and someone on the unabridged Burners Malazan Discord is also from Minnesota and is also complaining about it.
Oh my God.
So it's still freaking cold.
Am I going to cover Civ 7 on my gaming channel? I am thinking really hard about it. I mean, one of the things, if you're running a YouTube channel and you're actually thinking it might eventually make money, which I think a gaming channel has the potential for that, at least, especially with the watch hours I'm getting. Like if someone puts on my one
Yeah.
episode of my Let's Play, which now has 8 episodes, they're going to be sitting there for 3 hours with it running, and usually in the background, not paying attention. So it'll just play like a million ads. Yeah, and when you're running something like that, you start thinking, well, okay, video games, specific in video games, don't have a very long shelf life.
Yeah.
You know, people play them a lot for 6 months or a year maximum, and then move on. So I was actually thinking Civ 7 might be the next one. I like Civ 6 a lot. I played it a lot, and Civ 7 looks pretty hot. So yeah. Trevor says, "Bring out the monkey."
Yeah. The thing is, I have way too many monkeys. It's one of those weird problems.
Another thing I never thought I'd hear you say.
To be fair,
I can't swing my saber under my bed, and I have way too many monkeys.
if there was
Yeah, I mean-
any proof needed that I am still very much in contact with my inner child, I think that's the two things that show that.
So basically, Raph, you have a mini zoo in your house. Is that what you're getting at?
Just monkeys.
There was like a while ago. I mean, this
And a
this
moose.
specific this specific monkey is in fact my oldest stuffed toy. My godfather gave me that for my first birthday, so it's a very old monkey as well.
I'll be right back.
Cute. I had a teddy bear,
Mhm.
which my aunt gave me in the hospital when I was born. And I had it until I was 10, and we moved to Australia, and somewhere in the move it got lost. So gone. Strange Mentality Paper says Crusader Kings 3 is better than Civ 7. I wouldn't say better. They're extremely different games that I would have a very hard time comparing. I like Crusader Kings as well. Just Civ 7. Well,
I've heard
all
you
of
can-
the Civ games and all the
I heard
Crusader
you can
Kings
blend
games.
cultures in that game.
Different. In what? Civilization?
Crusader Kings.
Crusader Kings. Yeah, you can you as a ruler could marry someone from a totally different culture, and things happen because of it. And it's a cool game. I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's just very different from Civ 7. I wouldn't compare them myself, but yeah. Not everything has to be better or worse than something else.
Maybe she just prefers it. I don't know.
Sure. That is totally fine.
But wait,
Yeah.
it hasn't Civilization 7 not come out yet?
Yeah, no, it hasn't. But they're doing a hell of a lot of advertising for it. I don't know exactly like the date it comes out, and I won't be jumping on it immediately. I've got so much to do for Medieval Dynasty, and I'm still building that as a channel. But I'll get there. Terry is working on The Winter King. Jerome is reading another book I've never heard of, as usual.
Well, he's reading Ash, Secret History by Mary Gentle, and that
Yeah.
was a bit of a cult kind of hit at the same time as Pretty Street Station came out. Those were like mentioned usually in one breath as like those two and whatever thing Jeff Vandermeer was publishing at the time. They were sort of like the new sort of like, not necessarily new weird, but adding more like literary elements into their fiction and so forth. And then
I went
suddenly,
the medieval direction, but I didn't catch Mary Gentle.
I'll have to check her out if it's any way comparable to that book.
It is very, very different. I haven't read it. I want to, but it doesn't exist in audio at all. It's been very much sort of like forgotten since. It's a bit of a cult classic. And from what I can tell, it starts out more or less as a straight up sort of like historical fiction and then turns more and more weird over time. And it plays with like unreliable narrators on several levels and so forth. And
Daniel is rereading the first Cinder Spires book because he got the second book for Christmas. Cool.
well, I reread On Stranger Tides by Tim Powers today because
Nice.
pirates.
Because pirates.
And then I recorded a video, and then I decided that the video is not good enough, and I'm going to re-record it tomorrow.
I know how that feels.
Yeah.
I have a very vague Tim Powers memory. My memory is garbage, and I'm really I know I haven't read Anubis Gates, and I haven't read on Stranger Tides. I know, but I'm pretty sure I read something by him, but many years ago, like 20 years
I've
ago.
also read Declare, which I personally really enjoyed. It's sort of like a Cold War with gin kind of story.
Yeah, one of my best friends, that's one of his favorite novels.
Yeah, it's a really good one because, I mean, they all do the Tim Powers thing. And I've read The Stress of Her Regard, which is about Byron and Percy Shelley and vampires.
Actually, that's what I think I read, is The Stress of Her Regard. Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Alicia's back. Brian, you have mentioned your friend Adam with his Twitch, YouTube gaming channel. And yeah, no, I know people definitely, I mean, you need to build it up for a while, but I mean, getting 500 subs in 6 weeks, I'm pretty happy.
That's pretty good, yeah. Booktubers rarely get that.
Yeah, no, gaming is just a totally different space. And I really didn't know that before I started. And now I'm looking at my watch hours and I'm like, who watched these 4 videos that much? It's really kind of shocking, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But and he only plays base building games. That's interesting. I'm certainly, like, I have a category of games that I call 14-year-old games. These are games that, just by virtue of being 14 years old, any 14-year-old will beat me at them, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch someone my age play Fortnite or something, you know? So I play much more chill games, and that will remain the case. And Civ 7, it's a very different kind of base building game. It's not a survival game like Medieval Dynasty, but it's basically a building game as well.
It's also probably, as all Civ games, the kind of thing where you go, well, I'll just do one more round, and then it's like 5 in the morning and you've wasted the entire night.
Oh my God, yes. But Medieval Dynasty is exactly the same. Last night at like 11, I was like, I think I'll reorganize all my crop fields.
Yep.
I've got this idea, and I'm not going to be able to sleep until I've tried it out. And then I was like, oh, it's too long. Yeah.
And that's how Matt discovered like 3-field agriculture.
Well, it's interesting. The system in it, actually, it's not interesting at all. It's totally boring unless you're into the game. But it's got a pretty realistic sort of crop system.
So you're doing crop rotation.
Well, you don't have to. A lot of players don't bother. They just do one field, one crop. But I do like flax, cabbage, rye in a lot of my fields because that keeps the field busy like 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a crazy addictive game. Ida says the Bucarella are following you around.
That'd be great to have like stuffed animal versions of those things.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say it'd be great to have a Bucarella, and I don't think it would.
Nah,
No, not a real one.
A stuffed animal would be fine. That'd be totally fine.
Yeah.
No
Something
problem. What's that?
Something that can't hurt you.
Yeah, and won't mess up all your stuff and
Yeah.
follow you around everywhere and make your life difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's me with like Minecraft. I would play it, and then like, I don't know, something would come up. I'd be like, damn it. And I have to keep going. And then it's like 3 a.m. I'm like, okay, I got to go to sleep. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glad you made it, Evie.
Hey, Evie, hey.
Yeah, Manor Lords. Did I play Manor Lords? No, I didn't play Manor Lords. I played Banner Lords. Or is that... I forget. It was one with a really stupid name, but it was actually quite fun. Oh, wow. Just finished Fahrenheit 451. That's on my list of, damn, I should have read this a really long time ago.
I never had to read that.
Good book.
I never had to read it, but it's such a classic. I just always thought I should. You know?
There are
Good-
so
good
many
book.
books that like everybody read in high school that I've never read. That I'm
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah. Thornall finished a Warhammer novel. What is it by chance an Adrian Tchaikovsky Warhammer novel? Because he's written a couple, actually.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
who
his
hasn't that
that's
man
his secret other life.
How does he sleep? Is my
Has
question.
he written those? Has he written those under his official name or under a pen name though?
No, they're Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find them pretty easily if you just search
Yeah.
for Warhammer Tchaikovsky, then you'll find them. And I think he has sort of a split in his brain about them, because when he was here, I asked him like, how many books did you have out in 2024? And he was like 4. Oh no, 5, because also a Warhammer novel. He forgot about it at first.
That's weird. You can write so many novels, you actually forget you wrote one.
How? Like, I want to know how his brain works.
He's a fire hose. He explained it a bit when he was in Berlin at the reading. Someone asked him, like, you know, how do you work on your ideas or whatever? And he said when he gets to the point of writing a novel, he's already pretty sure of what it is. Like he knows in his head, he knows the story, he knows the world, he knows the characters, and then it's just a matter of writing it down. Because he writes down ideas constantly and then reviews them, and like, oh, this idea is crap, I'll throw it away. This idea I could develop more, and just sort of but he's doing that while he's writing 5 other books for that year, you know, which it's just nuts. I think it's kind of crazy. Navo is also deep into Curse of the Mistwraith.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are reading Janny Words. I'm like, but I'm reading Malazan and Discworld this year. This sucks.
Yeah, you know? don't mix the streams, Britton.
It's all right.
The one thing Evie read by Tim Powers, a story called The Governor, made me not excited to read anything else by him. Okay.
I think the problem with Tim Powers is the thing with Tim Powers is that he has a very specific kind of mode of what he does, and if that specific thing doesn't work for you, then none of his novels will. And even if it does, it also depends on which kind of topic he's picking. Right? He does take something in history, and then he looks at like weird stuff that is historically accurate, and comes up with a magical explanation of why these things are that way, and that works. In Declare, it works really well, I think. It does not work as well in On Stranger Tides. In Anubis Gates, it works really well again, I think.
And that's basically his shtick. That's the thing he does. He finds weird occult reasons for history.
Yes.
Brian says if he has to go back in time, he's bringing me and Philip. Philip could speak to everyone in Old English, and I can organize your crops for you. Yes.
So you'll end up as serf, and Philip's going to be his clerk, and he's going to be the lord.
I'm also a hunter. Or at least I'm an archer.
Yeah.
So that's also useful in the Middle Ages, I think. Hi, Mac.
That's my dad.
Mac arrived a bit late. I haven't shot in a long time, actually. Yeah. Last time I moved flats, which was a couple of years ago, I moved away.
Fantastic book.
Away from my archery club, and now it takes like an hour to get there, an hour to get home. So I just don't.
My dad hasn't done it in a while, but he taught me how to do it. I'm not good at it, but good to know just in case something happens.
I used to win competitions a long time ago, longbow shooting, but that's been quite a while. That was quite a while ago.
Are you using composite bow, or are you using a primitive one, or which?
No, when I was shooting longbow, I was shooting a longbow, stick and string.
Okay, yeah, the classic one. Yeah, a good friend of mine is an instructor. She is an instructor in archery at like a university sports team, and works in a bow store. And holy shit, you can spend a lot of money on bows.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah. Back when I was shooting, like a couple of years ago, when I was shooting regularly, I was actually going to order a custom longbow from a guy.
Yeah.
And the money can be surprising. Yeah, you have to want it. But like my dad used to always say, any good hobby is worth spending money on.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly is.
Yeah,
sure.
I
have thousands of D&D books.
Oh my god, you should see my 3 meters of role-playing books, not just D&D, but all of the other.
I have 2 entire shelves full of role-playing game books.
I got a whole bookshelf section. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You can spend a lot of money on that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Navo makes a good point. Speaking of Miss Wirtz, or Mrs. Wirtz, I guess. It takes a bit of concentration that I'm not used to, but Janny herself warned me it's a slow burn, but I don't mind that. Yeah, it's a really different kind of read because her prose is really beautiful and really rich, but it's dense. And also, my feeling, I mean, I'm on my second read of Malazan, so I'm conditioned for this, but I got through like the first 10%, and I was like, about 50% of this, I have no idea what is happening. I don't know where these people are. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know why they're doing it.
Yeah, you figure it out later.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, that's the thing. Like
that's also what going to party with a bunch of Australians can do to you.
that's true. That's true.
I've been in that situation.
Yeah, me too.
Although
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Bex says, how is it that losing a tooth made Raph cuter? How is it possible that Raph could get cuter is the question.
See, that's something I don't know. Like the one thing that is really annoying about the tooth thing is that I can't record the Mormonism video at the moment. I mean, I could, but I feel like with like a very serious topic, it kind of could detract from
everyone
what I'm trying
be
to do.
staring at the hole in your mouth.
Up to a point, yes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You talk about history of religion, and you look like the last fucking hobo. That may be a problem.
Let's go.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, they'd be like, "What happened to his tooth?"
But then you might want to cut your hair, trim your beard, and stop wearing rock t-shirts as well.
I think there are differences, right? The thing is, if I look like this and like wear like a metal band shirt and drink beer and all of that, those are things that I have decided, like actively decided to do. And
Right.
people not taking my message seriously because I look like that, I can't necessarily help that. But with the tooth, there's like this idea of that it's a super like classist kind of thing, right? People that have openly like, you know, holes in their teeth or something, we think of them as lesser because they're probably poor because they
Generally,
can't
they're
afford,
poor. Yeah.
and probably and all of these other things are tied into that. That's something that I personally, you know, find incredibly offensive and so forth. But the question is like, do I want to tackle that specific prejudice at the same time as I want to try to do the other thing? Because those two things might be sort of like contradicting each other, right? And then do I want to sacrifice the potential impact of a video about, you know, Mormon history?
Too much
that
for one Raph. Evie, are you blind, Evie? Open your mouth, Raph. Can you not see that big gap in the front of Raph's face?
How did you lose your tooth?
I mean, not to make you too self-conscious about it, but I noticed it. The Mormons stole Raph's tooth, Daniel says.
You get that one.
Raph has a plot hole in his face.
The prophet's like, hey, this German guy's gonna make a video about us. We need that taken care of.
Yeah.
And then they failed miserably, and they took the tooth.
Wreck his teeth.
Yeah,
I like the story that Raph got in a bar fight better than the reality.
Than the real one, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about the reality, Raph.
The reality is, like, years ago, I lost this tooth, and then I had a replacement in, and like a couple of weeks ago, I fell down and it kind of got wobbly, and then I bit into a piece of bread and it got stuck, and then I didn't have a tooth anymore.
I lost a tooth eating a sweet once. It's one of my side teeth. Which is fine. You can't see it, and it doesn't really bother me. Food gets stuck in it, but otherwise it's fine. So I set an alarm for past so that we would sprint because I really wanted to read, and I fucked up setting my alarm, but I noticed that it's 3 minutes past past now. So
Nice.
We should sprint.
How long?
Let's do. Oh wow, I've still got the weird. I've still got all of the weird stuff from last weekend in the banners. But let's do it until the hour.
All right.
So actually, let's do it 10 minutes past the hour.
All right. Sounds good.
Little extra time since we're starting a bit late. Please mute yourselves and everybody enjoy your book. Hello.
We be back.
We are back.
That was
That's
timing.
She's decided it's time to feed her an hour early. Fitz. Chill out. Nostalgic Dragon. The Ends of Howling Dark. That was a serious book. Who's read it?
Have not.
No?
Almost done with Parable of the Talents.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, also on my I really should have read this a long time ago list.
That series is very interesting to read with things currently happening.
Yes, very relevant.
Yes.
Yeah, just not fun, is it?
No.
It's not
very
that fun.
timely, maybe. Huh.
Yeah, I mean that's of course.
Octavia
Yeah.
E. Butler doesn't get enough credit that she deserves, though.
Dako's here.
I think it kind of depends. I think it kind of depends on whom you're talking to, right? Because, like, when it comes to sort of like the more serious sort of like fantasy and science fiction fandom and community, you know, the kind of people that go to World Cons and that vote on Hugo Awards and stuff like that, there, Octavia E. Butler is very much sort of like venerated as like one of the top sort of like sci-fi authors, together with like Ursula Le Guin and maybe one or two others when it comes to women in general. So, but you know, broader like fantasy booktube or book talk or whatever is only just now, like last year, I feel, discovering Octavia Butler.
Yep.
Mhm.
Hey, it was my favorite book of last year, Kindred. So it's a great book.
Yeah.
Brian, 60%, 67%. You must be reading it on a Kindle, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, or audiobook. Like I think the Audible
Or
app
audiobook,
also gives
yeah,
you
that's true.
percentages, or it used to.
Yeah.
I'm still reading more pirate stuff, although I will hopefully start. But that's the thing, right? I can't do the thing that I really wanted to do, but now I have the perfect excuse to talk about pirate books. And you know, I did talk about Treasure Island already, and now I'm working on on Stranger Tides, and I also read, and I will talk about The Pirates by George MacDonald Fraser, which is incredibly funny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a pirate story that takes all the things you've ever seen in a pirate movie and puts it into one specific novel, and then is incredibly meta about it and stuff, including the main character going like, well, I'm clearly the hero. You can't stab me on page 163.
Good afternoon or evening, Anitha.
Yay.
Yeah, Thornall. I don't think American Gods 2 is going to be out anytime soon.
Yeah, it's like the running gag of Tharnall. He's disappointed at a lack of American Gods too.
I don't think we'll be getting any new Neil Gaiman books for a while.
Yeah.
I can't imagine his publisher is really keen
just
to put
felt
out
like
more books.
You know, Matt, this week just felt like a giant kick in the balls. You know, that came out, and then
Really?
David Lynch died, and I
True.
really love
Howard Andrew Jones also died.
Howard Andrew Jones also
Oh,
died.
did he?
I haven't read any of his stuff, but I heard he's pretty good. And hey,
Yeah.
he's getting people to read Sword and Sorcery, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, though, when was the last time Neil Gaiman actually wrote and published an actual novel?
2013, I think.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a while. He's written a million introductions to other people's books, but
wasn't it Norse mythology? Is that the one?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's mythology,
About
I
that.
guess, but that's
Yeah. It's a retelling. It's not like I wrote a brand new book, but
good on Ursula K. Le Guin being mad at it back when it came out already, being like one of the few people who already, openly said that like Neil Gaiman's book wasn't good.
I quite liked it.
Yeah,
I think, and it was okay. I
I mean,
understand
I'm
her criticism though.
I'm into Norse mythology, and I've read the Eddas. So, like, obviously, it was Norse mythology for dummies in that way. It was pretty simplified and picked stories and left a lot out, and wasn't as ugly as Norse mythology really kind of should be.
That was Le Guin's criticism, was that he was basically cleaning it up in a way that takes away a fundamental essence of Norse mythology.
He drained a lot of the blood out of it.
But obviously it was still fun to read, because Neil Gaiman was good at, or is good at putting words together. He could do that.
Yeah.
When he actually sits down and does it, of course.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of like a Norse myth for dummies kind of book, which is nice. It's always a good thing to do.
Up to a point, all of them are, because everything that is not like translations, like more or less exact translations of the Norse Eddas, is going to be some form of adapting it to a modern sensibility.
Sure. But I've seen some that were still messy.
Much grimmer, yes.
messy as they should be, or closer to it anyway. Yeah. Oh well.
I'm curious if you'll cover the Scar in your pirate phase.
I might. I might.
I mean, it's kind of technically not pirates, but it is a seafaring nation.
Yeah, I mean, so my plan was to cover pirate books that come up that I feel like, and definitely Treasure Island, On Stranger Tides, and the Pirates, because I already had read both On Stranger Tides and Treasure Island, of course, and I always wanted to read the Pirates, and now I have an excuse. And I mean, I already read it, and now I can cover it, and then I will probably talk about the Revenger series by Alistair Reynolds, which is teenage girl pirates in space, which is really good.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Okay.
See, another thing you weren't expecting me to say today, right?
You are full of sentences I never had on my bingo card. Yeah.
That's Raph's gift. He says a bunch of things that no one expects.
Yeah.
And I'll see what else.
It's a pity that Erickson didn't write an entire book about Shirka Lal.
Yeah, maybe.
You could do a really fun. I could totally imagine, sort of in the style of the Beauclain and Corporal Brooch.
Yes.
Nobel,
a Shirka Lal pirating story. Yeah,
you could probably do something like that. Maybe go full on like sort of like a parody of Captain Blood and stuff like that. I guess might work.
Yeah.
I am going to read The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi.
So good. It's so good.
Will have to wait until next month though, because I'm broke as fuck and I can't afford a book until until February.
I've been wanting to read that ever since it came out, just because of the cover.
So good.
I was about to say, I've seen that book and I see the cover and I'm like, I want to pick that up.
The cover is very, very cool.
So it's
very little idea about the book itself.
It's a lady pirate and it's an older woman, which I think is really cool, because we need more books that have older characters in general, and older women, or mother in this case.
Yeah, she's 46
in particular.
in the book.
You know who else has a surly female protagonist? The Scar.
Yeah. I know.
So she's not a pirate, unfortunately.
I know.
She's a linguist.
I know. So what you're saying is that it's basically, what if Emily Wilde was also like a pirate novel, but also written by a Marxist?
I've never heard it described quite like that, but sure. I've not read an Emily Wilde book, though.
Pretty much everything Mieville is, but written by a Marxist.
Yeah, I mean, technically, even if he was, because he is a Marxist, I mean.
No, but I mean, it's also one of his things. So.
Yeah, I think that is actually helpful, because it does add something to fantasy that there's always been like Marxist or leftist fantasy writers putting their politics into books, but in recent times, someone being like explicit about and going like, yes, I'm a Marxist, and is refreshing.
It's his public persona. Yeah.
We can do with more of that, because
Daniel
are you
makes
saying
a
we
good
need
point.
more commies in fantasy, Raph?
Not necessarily. I I'm more saying that it is helpful to have people who are actually stating that they are influenced by Marxist philosophy and thought, because obviously, in Marxism has gotten like a bad name, which I think is problematic because it does add a lot of interesting things that you can do. Another person like really important in that regard is, of course, Kim Stanley Robinson, right? Who's also very explicitly a Marxist.
I thought he was more like a libertarian socialist or democratic socialist.
See, the thing is, if you are talking about theory, being a Marxist does not mean you're a communist. It just means that you use things that Marx has written about in your way of analyzing the world. You don't have to be a hardcore communist with that.
Fair enough, I guess.
That's why I said it's good that you have people like China Mieville going, yes, I'm a Marxist, and then not going and arguing for us to adopt like a 5-year plan. That's helpful because it kind of breaks that connection between Marxist thought on the one hand and communist politics, especially Soviet politics on the other hand, because I think that's an issue because it does sell Marxist thought short in a lot of ways.
I agree, Thornall. Where is Derry? Derry said
We
she was going
haven't-
to join us.
We haven't mentioned either Robin Hobb or Terry Pratchett yet.
Well, that's what Thornall just did. He
I
said
am thinking.
Robin Hobb 3 times.
Yeah.
I am thinking of reading Guards in February. So
Sounds like a good
Do it.
idea.
It's good.
It's a good book, yes.
Yeah, and it gets better from there.
and
So
then-
much gets better from there.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Raph and I'm going to invite Derry on my channel and we're going to talk Discworld. So there you go.
Sounds like a good idea.
That's where I'm first announcing this idea.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
I
would
just
be
not
glad to
that
join you.
long ago read Feet of Clay.
It's
And-
such a good book.
It is.
It's all
It is.
I'll
I think
admit, Derry
I think
can be
Men of
harder
the
to
Rings
read
is
than
my favorite
Raph.
so far.
It also gets almost
of the
Marxist
story.
in one small situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, it's the most social issue-y of the
So
books
far,
that
yeah.
I've read so
Yeah.
far. Yeah.
Especially the thing in like the sewing factory is very, very like Marx.
Well, and just in general, a lot
yeah,
about
sure.
sexism
definitely.
and prejudice and racism and all this sort of stuff in that book. It's kind of what the whole book is about. And then there is a lot of sort of free the laborers kind of stuff going on, and you know.
I do really appreciate the way he does that because it is just also very funny and has an interesting plot at the same time.
Yeah. If you're not Raph, you can still get a lot out of the book and just enjoy it and have a great laugh, and it's a good story and the characters are amazing and all of that. But there is also a lot of very intelligent and angry social commentary in there as well,
including a really funny Thomas Hobbes joke.
Don't know if I got that, but I don't know much about Thomas Hobbes, so it's not surprising.
It's Veterinari is writing his like thing, right? And he describes the cover that he's painting, which is the giant monster made out of smaller out of like human figures in a way, and that is the original cover illustration for the original version of like first edition of Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan.
Okay.
I was showing proof.
If you've ever seen, like, if you've seen the image, it's a Pratchett thing where he describes something and you need to visualize it to get the joke that he's doing. But I'm sure you've seen that image, right? Yeah. And that's what he's describing. But you need to do that like a visual thing.
Yeah, it's like the painting that Severian finds the guy finds in the
and you're like, oh, it's the moon landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, the first time I read it, I totally didn't get that. I was like, okay, a guy in a white suit with a gold visor. It sounds like some sort of crazy fantasy knight or something.
Don't get Raph started on a canon. I can't pronounce your name because it's in. I think that's Japanese.
I think it's Mattia.
No, it's not Mattia. No.
Ah.
I don't.
I
think
know
so.
this guy. I just can't pronounce his.
Yeah,
whatever
Mattia
that is.
is. I think his name is also Mattia on YouTube, but he's asking, what do you think about Fantasy Masterworks by the publisher Millennium? It's claimed to be, quote, some of the greatest, most original, and most influential fantasy ever written.
I have
a
not
good
looked at
fantasy
that.
canon.
Is that like
I've seen some of it. Fritz Leiber, they have Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser editions.
they have Conan? Is that like the Fantasy Masterworks? I thought that was a different publisher, or has the series switched publisher recently?
I don't know the publisher.
Yeah.
To be honest, I just always
The
thought
only
of it as
one that
Fantasy
I own
Masterworks.
is,
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought Fantasy Masterworks used to be Golangs. Golangs, how you pronounce that?
Golange, yeah.
Golange.
I'm
And
trying
that
to
series definitely has a really good has
Okay.
a very good selection of interesting books. I wouldn't call it a canon, but it's certainly a good start if you want to have like an overview over like fantasy.
I mean,
history.
certainly most of the stuff that I'm aware of, and that is surely far from all of it. Most of it is quite old, foundational, influential, old
Yeah.
fantasy.
A lot of interesting. We got Voyage to Arcturus, which I know Raph likes quite a bit.
It's a really good book. It's also a really weird one.
He was telling me to read it if I really wanted to fry my brain this year because
Always good.
pre-Tolkien. So I'm doing a pre-Tolkien thing this year.
Voyage to Arcturus is a fascinating book. It's sort of like a sci-fi or a fantasy. It's also very Gnostic. It's also very Jungian psychology and all of that written in like the early 1920s. So
Brittany,
it's fucking weird.
you should pick this up.
EV.
Oh, all right, yeah.
It's really good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll
Tales
I'll
Before
give that a
Tolkien.
look-see.
Which one?
By Tales Before Tolkien.
Ah,
I did a video about that ages ago. Not that book,
Oh, did
but
you?
about authors that were
Okay.
already writing fantasy before Tolkien.
Yeah, it's pretty good collection.
Yeah, I'm actually reading. Speaking of that, I'm doing my first big read. I guess this technically isn't pre-Tolkien because this came out the same year as Fellowship of the Ring, but The Broken Sword, and it's actually really entertaining. I'm enjoying it a lot.
What's up, Evie?
Do not
See,
listen
Brian?
to Brian. Brian is telling us
God.
to pre-Tolkien it up with the Worm Ouroboros.
I will have to reread
The
this
Worm
very soon
Ouroboros
because
is like one of the most opaque books I have ever started to read.
I'm going to
Yeah, I heard
reread
it
it
gets
this
wild.
month because my offline book club has voted on reading the Worm Ouroboros instead of reading the Buried Giant by Ishiguro. So I go back and reread this one.
I'm pretty sure I would rather read Ishiguro.
I remember
any-
The Buried
anything by
Giant
Ishiguro.
because
It's also
one,
it's also half the length of of the Worm Ouroboros.
Yeah.
well, I remember I've heard of The Buried Giant because one, Neil Gaiman liked it, and two, Ursula K. Le Guin ripped on it, which I read and I thought was pretty hilarious. So there you go.
I've got it. I will get to it eventually because I'm planning on reading everything Ishiguro, and I've got them all. So it's I think it's either that or the Unconsolables or whatever it's called. It's the thickest Ishiguro. I think it's Buried Giant is the biggest one that he wrote so far.
Which is not saying a lot because most of his stuff is fairly
Most of his
short.
stuff is very short. Yeah.
That's something I really appreciate about recent sort of Nobel Prize winners. Usually they write short books, unlike, when they gave it to our SS guy.
Evie, how you doing? You're very quiet.
Sorry, I figured I had myself on mute so you didn't hear me clacking away as I was typing. I'm good. So
I think I have the Fantasy Masterworks of King of Elfland's daughter. Actually, now that I think about it,
King of
That's
Elfland's
another good
Daughter
book.
is fantastic.
Love it.
I love Dunsany's prose, and as someone with the reputation of loving melancholy books, it's definitely melancholy.
oh well, you'll like The Broken Sword then. This is a very melancholy book.
I
Came-
do have it. Paul
came, in
Anderson-
the came out the same year as Fellowship of the Ring. I'm having a blast with it.
It's really good. It's a fun book. It has a different vibe than Dunsany, though. It's a sad book, but it's not the same kind of melancholy. Dunsany has this very British kind of melancholy of like things are no longer the way they were, and we have
Everything was better in the past.
in this weird mythic past, we can't go back there because we lost fantasy, but also it's dangerous because fucking around with elves gets you into weird places if you're not careful. Quite literally in this specific
if you bring
book,
back fantasy, you bring back dragons.
I'm also hoping to read Blood in the Mist this year as well.
Blood in the Mist is also very, very good.
Blood in the
That's
Mist
on my
is
list for
also
this
very
year.
good.
That's basically my video.
I don't love the really small words in this, but it's the book, so I'll read it.
all of my that video I did. It was Blood in the Mist. It was Fantastes, Worm Ouroboros, King of Elfland's Daughter, maybe one or two others, and almost all of them, the ones I've got, have got an introduction and a quote on the cover by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, Blood in the Mist also does have that, which makes a lot of sense because Blood in the Mist, is very much the thing that he almost ripped off when he wrote Stardust.
He did.
One pre-Tolkien author that I always want to recommend to people is try some Arthur Machen if you haven't yet.
Arthur what?
Machen.
Machen. Okay.
Machen. He's a Welshman. He wrote like the one story that everyone knows of his is The Bowman, which is the story about like British soldiers fighting the Germans in France in World War I, and then like the ghosts of British bowmen from the Battle of Agincourt come and help them, and it was published in 1916 or whatever during the war in a newspaper. And what's interesting about it is that afterwards, a lot of soldiers who actually were fighting in that area at the time claimed that they actually had witnessed the thing that he described in that fiction story. So it's a really interesting sort of like mass hysteria kind of bit around that. But he also wrote a lot of. He's highly influential for like Lovecraft and the cosmic horror stuff. You read some Robert E. Howard horror stories or some Lovecraft horror stories, and you can very clearly see the Arthur Machen influence.
Okay.
And he's a character in The Great Wen by Alan Moore, because yes, Alan Moore is also highly inspired by Arthur Machen.
I need to get to that.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to The Great Wen this year sometime. Maybe after I'm done with The Broken Sword. We'll see. But Broken Sword is really interesting because it's basically like Norse and like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Yeah.
And Robert E. Howard. And it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it a lot.
It is a lot of fun. I want to like something I'm now going to read because I figured out a way to circumvent the region lock on Audible. And it has opened up a lot of books that I've always wanted to read to me, which is good. One that I'm going to read is The 12th Function of Language. The 7th Function of Language. And it's probably the most obnoxious book written in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I'm holding off on the Worm Ouroboros because I've heard it's really dense and really fucking weird. Like
the interesting thing is
it's
hard to read.
Yeah, it reminded me. I only opened it and read like the first few pages. It reminded me of reading Shakespeare.
Yeah,
not because it was that well written, but because the language is that obscure.
He's deliberately
you have to spend some time adjusting your mind and getting into it before it starts maybe rolling. He's
deliberately going for like an Edwardian kind of prose in and that's one of the key hang-ups for people who are reading this. And if you have never read historical texts from like the 17th or 18th or 19th century, this will be hard to get to.
The Worm Ouroboros is something that Brian read for his DNF challenge, I think. And I think it was DNF'd by Philip, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it was.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
he liked it.
Like,
I'm like, wow.
Hearing Philip DNF like an old fantasy book, I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, this dude reads Old English and enjoys it, but he didn't want to read Worm Ouroboros until the end. So, yeah.
I think it's an interesting book because it is also like story-wise, it goes into directions that are very different from what we would normally do with fantasy literature that is written to entertain today.
Yeah.
It is obscure in a lot of interesting ways in that regard.
Yeah.
And that's probably why Tolkien kind of enjoyed it, right? Because it was very clearly trying to do something historical, which is, what Tolkien was also trying.
Strangely enough, as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I'm pretty certain that I would not enjoy Tolkien's favorite books.
I like Alice in Wonderland.
Like he has never struck me as a dude that I would want to go to the pub with.
He said that he enjoyed some of Robert E. Howard's Conan stories. So
Yeah,
Okay.
he did. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. He also liked Alice in Wonderland, though he got irritated at the world building, which of course he did.
there's an interesting paper explaining how Alice in Wonderland is mostly throwing shade at a fellow mathematician by the author.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Awesome.
The author of Alice in Wonderland was actually like a mathematician. So, and he was. There are, it's an academic paper, so there is proof for that. You can't, finally say that, but there are ways that stuff he does in Alice in Wonderland is making fun of certain mathematical concepts that he was at the time arguing about with another mathematician. It's been a while since I read that paper, though. I would have to look it up again.
There's a video. I don't know if it's real, but it's Tolkien talking about the eagles, and people were asking him like, why didn't they just use the eagles? And he's like, well, I just told them to shut up. I just laughed my ass off. I'm just like, I don't know if it's real, but that would be hilarious if it was real.
I don't think Tolkien would say shut up, but I get that. But then Tolkien was an interesting guy. Tolkien said of himself that he was probably an anarchist. So there's that.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
Yeah, but why didn't they just use the eagles?
I don't
Because
know.
that's how stories work.
No, I don't actually want to start that conversation. I was joking.
So before people start off randomly on stuff, because I probably missed it. What are you guys reading? Each reading?
I'm reading The Broken Sword.
Listen, Matt. I don't have my glasses on, and I've got two screens going, so you're very tiny.
Curse of the Mistwraith
The Yiddish Policeman.
by Yanni Wurtz.
You just said it in the most German way possible, Matt.
Of course
Essex
I did.
County by Jeff Lemire.
I'm almost done Parable of the Talents, Evie.
Nice. Are you liking it? I hope you're liking it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
You like
it's
it?
great.
Okay, good.
I've been in Germany for so long that whenever I see that, when I just glance over at the book, I see Yanni Wurtz.
Yeah. it just begs to be said with the German W.
and a Y.
very
That's a
weird.
J, that's a Y.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hello. Which book was amazing that I heard Evie crying out about?
Parable of Talents.
Parable of the Talents.
Oh,
see.
talents, yeah.
Of Octavia.
Oh yeah, Derry. I don't know if you saw earlier, but I said when I read Guards, which will probably be in February, I am going to get.
Yes, I have it written in my calendar. It will be February.
All right.
You said it. I wrote it down.
Good.
Yeah.
Alicia, what are you reading?
Emma by Jane Austen.
Hey, let's go!
My
Evie's never
reread is
heard of
very
Jane
far
Austen.
behind, and it's my fault.
I'm going to read.
Of December.
Yeah, I'm going to read Jane
But
Austen
it
for the
will get
first
done.
time very soon.
Really?
The first time? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Astonishing.
Here's the thing.
right back, I'm gonna get a drink.
Jane Austen does not feature in English classes in German high school. So I did not read it in school, which is usually where someone like me would be forced to read Jane Austen. And then I did not read it for years and years and years because I'm a terribly toxically male kind of dude, and that's bad. And I Audible has a collection coming up. It's been moved to the beginning of February, which is all of the Jane Austen novels and all of the Bronte sister novels in one audiobook for one credit. And I'm like, yeah, fuck, I better get my education sorted out. So that's what I pre-ordered. And I'm going to read a bunch of Jane Austen and I'm going to read a bunch of Bronte novels, and we'll see how that goes.
So, which Jane Austen are you going to start with first, and then which Bronte novel are you going to start with first?
I have not yet decided. I asked Alicia earlier, and I don't know. I might go with Northanger Abbey because of it making fun of Gothic stuff, or I might just go in publication order, which is what I usually do when I don't want to decide stuff. And I guess I'll start with Wuthering Heights when it comes to Bronte stuff, because I want to read the Glasstown game by Catherine Valente, and I want to read My Brother's Keeper by Tim Powers. And those are both books about the Bronte sisters with a specific, focus on Wuthering Heights and that specific Bronte sister. So that's probably what I'll do when it comes to Bronte. With Austen, I don't know, just something.
All right, you can't go wrong with any Austen except for, in my opinion, Sense and Sensibility. It's the worst. It's still better than most other literature. Let's be honest.
It's the lowest of her 5 stars. Let me put it.
Yeah, exactly.
4.9.
Yeah, that is the correct Bronte to go with.
Yeah.
Please support me in being the Wuthering Heights is the superior Bronte sister novel, like Bronte's novel, and Emily Bronte is the superior Bronte sister. Like,
I don't know about that. I will let you know once I've read a bunch of those books.
I know.
I
think planting the seed to make sure that you
isn't like I feel I might also be at least impressed by The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. That sounds like something I might be impressed by.
I do need to reread The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. Agnes Grey is the superior Jane Eyre. Don't at me. There's no question. Anyone in the chat that loves Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre sucks. Agnes Grey is way better. Way better. I
feel like I also have to read Pride and Prejudice because Terry Pratchett made a very bad Pride and Prejudice joke in Snuff.
It wasn't a bad one. It was a fabulous joke. And
it was
if you haven't ever read Austen, you don't know why. So
I think I get why. It's more like a terrible joke in the way that sometimes Pratchett does jokes where you can see him doing the setup for like a joke, like 500 pages, not 500, but 200 pages before the joke happens. I'm like, I know why you're doing this right now, Terry. And then you read an entire book, and then at the last page, he goes like, "Oh, by the way, that joke that I set up here it is." And I'm like, you bastard.
What was happening?
That wasn't the joke. The joke is that Lady Sybil lit him.
Yeah, of course.
The
like the joke.
Pride and Prejudice scene isn't the joke.
No. Like the joke in Lord of Light.
It's kind of that weird.
Which a lot of people probably haven't read, but there is a joke that Zelazny spends about 250 pages setting up. And it's a really bad dad joke.
I am very much looking forward to reading Lord of Light as well, because I finally have access to it as well. It's one of the things that has been region locked for me.
I literally had to. It was a physical reaction. I had to put the book down and slap myself in the forehead.
Yeah.
When it got to the punchline, I was just like, dude, did you really just do that? Like, you spent, the 250 pages are good and there's story stuff happening, but he sets up something and I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then he sets up something and I'm like, oh man, what's he doing there? And then he gets to the punchline. You're like, oh my God, really, dude?
Yeah.
Man.
Great book, though.
I'm in the right kind of mood. I love when that happens.
There's a bunch of things I'm so excited to get to now that I can. Like, there's volume 2 and 3 of the Elric omnibus, because only volume 1 was available for me before that, which is frustrating. And Wizard of the Pigeon by Megan Lindholm, which is something I've wanted to read for a long time. It's also one of the things that I could get.
Isn't that like Robin Hobb's like superhero alter ego?
Yes.
Something like that.
You guys are making me nervous.
Not necessarily superhero.
Rather, Robin Hobb is is the second pen name of Megan Lindholm.
Yeah, I think Robin Hobb is more the superhero name.
And they're all pseudonyms.
She published
right under her actual name.
She published under Megan Lindholm before she started publishing under Robin Hobb.
Yeah.
And Wizard of the Pigeons is something that I'm just like really excited about, because it's more like
It's really good. I like it.
I think it's going to be incredibly depressing. But then again,
You know what else?
it's still a Robin Hobb or Megan Lindholm book, so
Hey,
I was
Raph.
expecting
the name's different, but it's Robin Hobb, right? So
It's just still going to touch on emotive themes. So.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then, like the thing is, it gets discussed heavily in Farah Mendelssohn's Rhetorics of Fantasy book, and she
Oh,
discusses Wizard of the Pigeons a lot. So I kind of know already what the book is about, but I still wanted to read it, of course. So in that regard, I already know what it's touching on, and it's certainly touching on mental health and trauma and
absolutely.
and it's urban fantasy in that regard, or maybe not even urban fantasy, and just like a book about someone suffering from heavy PTSD.
It's definitely urban fantasy. It definitely has elements of urban fantasy. But there's a lot of the theme work that she will later bring into Robin Hobb's work. So, but yes, it's a really lovely study on trauma and PTSD. And
I said right at the beginning that I was really keen to do some sprints. So why don't we do another sprint?
Sounds like a good idea. Oh, the other book that I'm going to start to read is, of course, Death of the Author by Nedio Corafor, which came out last week, and I haven't gotten to because of pirates.
Because pirates. It used to be because metal. Now it's because pirates.
Well, to be fair, I'm going to a concert on Tuesday, which is where the pirate metal band Ailstorm is playing. So I'm combining all the things.
Yeah, the crossover there is kind of wonderful. So.
Really quickly, Gary, did you mention already what you're reading?
No,
I did not. I'm reading the translations of Joan of Arc's Confessions. Joan of Arc, in her own words.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
She's mental, basically. I mean, fascinatingly so, but
Sorry, I saw this.
Look, religious fanatics are always somewhat difficult to deal with.
So
she's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah,
absolutely fascinating.
Before we go on sprints, apparently Tori also started sprints, so I'm just literally gonna hop between sprints. So if I drop and you see me elsewhere, don't be offended.
It's not that we don't love your faces.
Deep betrayal. Deep betrayal. Not you guys. Tori is deeply betrayed us.
Yeah.
All.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
until
sprint.
when?
Until past. Let's have a good long sprint.
Ooh,
all right.
And mute yourselves and enjoy your books. Hello. How's the reading, everyone?
That was okay.
Excellent.
Giving me a headache.
Gave you a headache. What are you reading?
Joan of Arc, in her
right.
own words. And it's not only her confessions, it's also bits of letters that she wrote and bits of discussion that have been written in other people's diaries. And she was a pain in the ass.
I can imagine.
That's not what I was expecting you to say.
So you're saying someone who claims to hear the voice of God is not a well-adjusted person? I'm shocked.
I will go on to say she never claims to have heard the voice of God. She claims to have heard the voices of 3 saints, and she's very very adamant about which saints they are, and she's very avoidant about answering anything because she hasn't got permission from the voices to share what they tell her, and it's I think it's aggravating when I consider that this is coming from a 14-year-old girl.
What I found so interesting, there's like 2 things I found interesting, and Derry, if you could tell me, like, who's the editor for this book? Because this sounds like something I might want to read myself.
No, absolutely. It's compiled and translated by Willard Trask.
All right.
Afterward by Sir Edward Creasy.
I'll see if I can rustle this up somewhere because it sounds like something that I'm interested in. But my point.
Yeah, it's not that's not available on Audible, but it is available on Amazon.
Yeah, and it might be available at some form in some form of ebook, I guess. No, what's interesting.
That's how
what
I'm
I find
reading
interesting
it,
about Joan of Arc is that unlike most of the people that you kind of connect to, miracles and shit, right? She did some pretty amazing stuff for her age. That's the thing. But I can see why people who are believing Christians and French at the same time would believe that she did in fact actually, see saints and did have some divine sort of like help with the shit she did. And unlike most other things that we usually, connect with that kind of stuff, this is like very close to like actual written history, right? Like,
precisely. There are letters here that are to kings. There's one that she wrote to the King of England, another that she wrote to one of the high-ranking bishops. So these are documents.
It's very different from saying like you're Jesus or your apostles or whatever. This is so much closer. And I'm like, so what actually went on historically? And we can't know obviously, but it is closer. And like, holy shit, which is why I think she's so fascinating. It's like.
She is fascinating because the moment that she speaks, when she does finally meet the King of France, is that he was shown a sign from one of these saints that she speaks to. And she's not going to tell the person who she's confessing to what that sign is. She says, but those who were there, the king who was there, the nobles who were there, the bishops and priests who were there, saw the sign. And when I asked for the troops, the king gave them to me. So I'm like, okay, something happened that convinced an entirely huge, massive room of quite intelligent, I'm hoping, people that, yes, this girl has something that, speaks to them. That says, she's going to
this is like in other parts of the world, the Renaissance had already begun at that point. It's like people were doing science at that moment.
Yeah. That's right. And it's really quite astonishing.
Super fascinating character.
And so it's interesting, and it's only the fact that she's so very resistant and to answering a question plainly, and the fact that she's a 14-year-old girl that makes it difficult for me to read her.
To be fair, most
I've known.
Is it because she's acting like a bratty teenage child, or is it because you're frustrated with the spiritual content?
Neither. It's more the fact that she seems to be very intelligent, and there's often times where I think she's smarter than the people who are questioning her. And so when they give her any kind of loophole in a question, she takes it. every single time. And where she can't, she often gets around them with doctrine, in that I have confessed this to my God. I don't have to tell you.
Okay.
And you don't have the right to judge me. You take too much on yourself to say you can judge
And if you're an
me.
adult in a position of authority and a 14-year-old
Yeah.
says that to you, you just want to shake their teeth loose.
Yeah, and
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Is what I'm finding really aggravating. And so she's giving me a hearing. And she won't wear women's clothes, and it's really bothering the people who are questioning her that she won't wear women's clothes. They're very determined to find out, did God tell you to wear men's clothes? I don't talk to God. Did the saints tell you to wear clothes? Well, to wear men's clothes. Well, had they told me to wear women's clothes, I would do so. And
to be fair, giving adults headaches is very much the main talent of 14-year-old children, no matter which gender.
Absolutely.
Precisely. Yeah, precisely. So it is very interesting. She's very what's the word I want? She's very articulate. Like, she's very clear in what she's trying to say, and she will specify very deliberately when she's very certain about something, and she will correct.
To be fair, that's like another thing that 14-year-olds, like teenagers, are incredibly good at, like rules lawyering, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which is why 14-year-olds love to play Dungeons and Dragons, I assume.
I think that's why they generally get so deeply into it. Here's a set of rules I can follow.
Yeah.
But it is fascinating. It's just it takes a bit from me.
I'm reading Speculative Whiteness by Jordan Carroll, which is it's an academic book from University of Minnesota Press about science fiction and the alt-right.
So many like SFF people in Minnesota. Like, what is this? Like, Neil Gaiman lived there for a while.
The author is not from he lives somewhere else, but it's published by University of Minnesota Press.
Oh, okay.
Because they have like a series, like a book series on fiction and politics and stuff like that. And it's it's from 20.
Isn't that what the Iron Dream is about? You know, have you ever read that book?
The Iron Dream by Spin. It does come up in this text.
Because it's also about fascism and SFF.
Yeah, but this is like an academic text from like last October, so it's very new, and it looks like people like Spencer and David Duke and Richard Spencer and how they're interested in science fiction. It looks at Elon Musk, who is obviously at this point very explicitly part of the far right, and his misreadings of science fiction and stuff like that, and I think it's an important book in that it looks at like the history of science fiction and its intersections with Nazis and neo-Nazis and so forth.
Also, didn't you make a video about that a while back?
I made a video asking whether Nazis have a right to escapism. But like there's reasons why I'm reading this book, Britton. And one of those reasons is that I'm generally interested in those intersections between politics and genre fiction, and this is clearly the kind of book you got to read in that regard, because it's last October. It's right now.
I was about to say, well, I mean, I hope you're not interested in Nazism, right? But I wouldn't think so, knowing you.
Turns out I'm not exactly a big fan of Nazis.
Oh, I wonder why.
You got a new kitten, Derry?
We have. Leah came home from a week away and went, I did a thing. I'm like, what did you do? And she brought up this little kid who is currently still exploring.
What's their name?
He's a little, this is a little boy called Apollo. And he's a very cute little bundle of fluff. He's part ragdoll, part moggy, but he's black with the little white tuft under his chin. And he's very curious. He's not a huge fan of Motzi. Motzi is sad because he wants to make friends with the kitty, and the kitty is frightened of him.
Oh, no.
So
I want to know what Daniel's going to say next.
So, Apollo after the god or after Battlestar Galactica?
I didn't name him, so it's after the god.
Or Terra
Although if
Ignota,
it was going to be after someone,
in order of
If it was going to be
likelihood.
someone in BSG, it would be
Right.
Starbuck, obviously, because Apollo's
True.
just boring.
Compared to
in BSG,
Starbuck,
so.
certainly. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
everybody is
exactly.
compared to Starbuck. But, yeah.
Everybody.
Or Hilo. I would
Everybody,
probably go with Hilo.
I am super tired.
Oh no!
I realized while I was reading.
Alrighty.
It's only 20 to 11 in the evening, but I think I'm going to call it
All right.
for tonight. Cutie. So thank you very much for joining me on screen. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in the chat. And like I said at the beginning, when a lot of people weren't here, I will probably do my 2024 Matty Awards at Sunday Pub Time next Sunday.
All right.
So it'll be just me on screen.
Okay.
And no pubbing as normal, but hopefully some of you will join in the chat. It'd be great to see you. Have a lovely week, everyone.
Sure, I'll find them.
Keep reading.